Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 142 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is one of those fish that you've definitely heard about, have probably eaten at least pieces of it before, but have probably never learned what it actually is, which is why you're here. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is, bam, the swordfish. Now, these swordfish, or scientific name Zophius gladius, again, that's Zophius gladius. It is part of the family Zophyidae, and it's the only member of the family, only species of the family. They are also known as broadbills, as you can easily see why. A lot of people think they're the same fish as like the Atlantic blue marlin, which we've covered on this channel before. But no, swordfish are actually a very distinct, unique fish. Complete separate family even. Very, very, very different fish. I just don't know how else to explain it. So let's actually dive into what a swordfish is. Now, in terms of where you're gonna find these are found globally. I mean, they're everywhere. They're oceanic, so they're usually out in deeper waters, but you can find them pretty much anywhere but the Arctic and Antarctic oceans. They do prefer water temperatures between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius, which is about 64 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit. But they're very, very migratory, and they usually move towards the colder regions to feed during the summer. So they're found around the equator in the winters and then move up during the summers, I guess to get away from extreme heat. So it seems like they could probably tolerate colder waters than just true warmer waters, and that probably has to do with their physiology, which we'll get into a little bit later. In terms of depths, you're going to find these. They're very common at depths of around 1,800 feet, which is about 550 meters, but they can go much deeper. They've been recorded as deep as 2,878 meters, which is 9,442 feet. And what happens is during the day, they will be towards the bottom of the ocean floor, and then at night they'll come up shallower. Usually, obviously, this swordfish is up near the top during the day, but the vast majority of the time during the day they're towards the bottom, and then at night they'd become up at top. So essentially they have full reign of the entire water column, which is not that unusual for oceanic fish. A lot of oceanic fish have very well adapted to go both the deep ocean and to the top. It is a large fish. It is very large. This picture gives you a little more scale on it. Is that a swordfish? Or yeah, I think it's a swordfish. This picture is a little better, in my opinion. It's a large fish. It commonly reaches around 3 meters, which is 10 foot long. The max reported size, however, is about 4.55 meters, which was 14 feet 11 inches, and it weighed 650 kilograms, 1,430 pounds. The IGFA record, the International Game Fish Association record, is 536 kilograms, which is 1,182 pounds. So you can imagine that 536 kilogram was probably close to that 4 foot range, probably, which would put it right at about 13 and a half feet long. So big fish, really, really big fish. They have these elongated bodies. They look like they're built for speed, and they are. They got these round bodies, very streamlined, highly curved dorsal and pectoral fins, look like swords, and that just causes them to be that much quicker through the water. something interesting to note though is they do have this back and they go silver to the side, on the sides and to the bottom. But realistically, first thing that people are going to notice about these is obviously these long flattened bills. But something very interesting to note is that by adulthood, swordfish lose all teeth and all scales, which tells me that finding that fact tells me that their young actually do have scales and might have teeth. I don't know. I'm not very sure about swordfish larvae, but it's got these short lips. The bottom jaw only extends pretty much to what a normal fish this size would be. Then this entire thing is another jaw. But this sword helps them eat. It does. And they are a top tier predator. They eat a lot of fish, primarily. But they do actually eat quite a few squids and octopi, which was a little interesting to me. I was unaware of that. So they'll eat any fish that they can find, usually swallowing smaller fish whole. And larger fish, they have some interesting adaptations to kind of deal with that, but we'll get into that a little bit more. Promise, just stick with me. Something that you might not know is that swordfish are actually a solitary fish. They don't really hang out with each other. Sometimes they'll be in loose aggregations or schools, but I believe I saw that usually if they are kind of together, they stay around 10 meters apart, which is about 30 feet apart. So they're together, but they're not together. So a little interesting there. But now we got quite a few interesting facts to end this video on. Quite a few. First, the interesting fact. A lot of people have heard, and I've seen like children's books. Most swordfish, they say, can move somewhere around 100 kilometers per hour, which is about 60 miles per hour. No, probably not. They're fast, but not near that fast. Probably closer to around 40 kilometers per hour, which is 25 miles per hour. So they realistically move about half the top speed most people think. Maybe for extremely quick bursts, but it seems like everything I found says that they're not actually that fast. They're significantly slower. Still fast, just not that fast. But now, the sword. Interesting fact, kind of number 2. Everyone growing up, looking at old school marine stuff, was taught, oh, swordfish use their swords, they'll attack boats and spear boats and spear the prey with this sword. And that's not a spearfish, it's a swordfish. The sword is not used to spear prey. What it does is more than likely it's used to slash the prey, to injure them, to make them easier to catch. So it goes through and sweeps it side to side, trying to injure them. And that's how it probably handles these larger things, is it might actually slash hard enough to maybe cut some larger fish that it can't swallow whole in half. And make no mistake, it can swing that sword extremely hard. This thing is a ball of, not a ball, it is a cigar of muscle, and it is fast and strong and will leap out of the water. God, I just don't know if that's a swordfish. I think it is, but I'm a little unclear. I think it's a swordfish, but they will leap out of the water really hard. And that's one of the reasons why they're so heavily sought after by the recreation. But even saying that though, they will use their sword as a spear to defend themselves. It's kind of like a last resort. Their most common predator would be the mako shark, which we recently covered. And if you watch that video, you know that mako sharks are one of the fastest things in the world in the water. And some makos have actually been found with sword bills in their head from fighting swordfish. So can be used as defense, just not as much as people think. But now, interesting fact number 3. They are actually ectothermic animals, meaning they gather their heat from the environment. If you think back to your middle school and high school days, they'd be what people would call cold-blooded, not warm-blooded. Do not like that term. Please go learn the difference between endothermic and ectothermic. It's a much better terminology. But even though they are actually ectothermic, they have special organs around their eyes. And something that I didn't mention in their kind of description, if you look at them, they have enormous eyes, which tells you that they are a vision predator. But their special organs next to their eyes actually heat their brains and their eyes. So they're keeping, it's almost like the body is cold-blooded, but they keep the head and the brain, the important parts, warm-blooded. And it's probably some kind of reap mirabili that we've talked about before. I couldn't actually find the actual organ, but it drastically heats up their eyes and brains. And there have been temperatures as much as 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, which is 1827 degrees Fahrenheit, above the surrounding water temperature, meaning that they're keeping their eyes and brains significantly warmer than the water temperature, which might be one reason why they move to colder waters during the summer. When the summer waters come in and they're so hot, it might overheat their brain and eyes. But that heat massively improves their vision, allowing them to be that better hunter. But now the interesting fact we're actually going to end the video on, interesting fact number 4, and the one that surprised me the most, when you think of a fish 15 feet long, 1,200 pounds, 500 kilograms, 3 meters long, you would think that that is a long-lived fish. It takes them a long time to get there. No, they're not near as long-lived as people think, including myself. I thought these fish probably were a 30-year long fish. I was guessing like 10 years for maturity. No, there was a recent study done, and apparently it's more common knowledge than I thought. The oldest swordfish found in a recent study was a 16-year-old female and a 12-year-old male, with the average being somewhere between 7 and 9 years of age for an adult, with the maturity date, I believe, around 4 years old. So that means that it goes from a larva to a sexually mature adult at 4 years of age, and essentially goes through its entire life cycle on average about 5 more years. Granted, obviously they can live up to 16 years, but definitely shorter lived than I thought. Was a really astonishing fact to me how much effort they put into growth with that short a lifespan. Just a really, really bizarre thing. Just honestly a bizarre fish. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If I don't, please be safe. Have a great day. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Love to see those comments rolling in. If you have suggestions for a fish video, please put them down in the comments. I would love to do some YouTube requests. But regardless, take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. And